across the curriculum. And I can visualise the excitement that's in the room at the moment this topic. And the number of people who came along was 10, I think, around about that. So that indicated the enthusiasm amongst teachers for this topic. And you can see the kind of thing that does excite teachers here. Why is education for a core theme in the Australian curriculum, if we didn't know it? Well, it goes back to 2008 when the ministers got together and said that knowledge, skills and values are needed to support students to become successful learners, confident and creative individuals and active and informed citizens for the 21st century. Sounds exciting. Sustainability education is very relevant to bringing this about. Well, that of course, I can see that you're all wondering, well, what is sustainability? Well, it refers to behaviours, attitudes and actions that look after the well-being of the present generation and their environments, natural, social and economic, without compromising the quality of life of future generations. So it's getting a bit serious now. Sustainability importantly addresses the ongoing capacity of planet Earth to maintain all life. It's getting even seriouser. Why is this coming about? Why is there sustainability across the curriculum? Well, it comes in part from the United Nations, amongst other, and that's come through the work of science in various ways, who have looked at the limits of the Earth to carry life ahead. And there are various limitations, limits that are called planetary boundaries. Biodiversity loss there, I don't know if people at the back there can actually see it, but biodiversity loss, that's a reflection there that they think that we've exceeded boundaries. Climate change over there, that obviously is referring to carbon dioxide levels, not yet exceeded boundaries and so on. So there are other ones there, various forms of pollution. So this has come through the United Nations. Now, the net result of that is that they came out last year with the Sustainable Development Goals, and I don't know how many of you ever heard of those, but they did get a little bit of publicity last year. They reflect, trying to work for poverty, zero hunger, good health. Now, number 8, decent work and economic growth, life on land, a whole host there, and time doesn't permit me to look at those. As a result of all of that, there's now efforts internationally and at all levels of education and also in business to address the whole question of sustainability. How can businesses become more sustainable? And the reason why there is doubt over this is what's happened to our ecological footprint. So more and more we are actually exceeding the capacity of the Earth to renew itself. So this is the real reason why sustainability is such an important issue, and I think it does need to be addressed in education. So, you know, we're all familiar with plastics, the problems that we have with plastics. These are just some of the things, greenhouse gases and so on, the whole effect of climate change. Now, although we've had a look at global planetary limits, there are, I think, other boundaries that I think actually affect, economic growth and development. Now, this is just the scene, the anticipated scene for the production of palm oil. So here we can see what's happening, what's predicted to happen there to the jungle that's in Borneo, and the effect of that on the orangutan. Now, there's a whole host of these. The problem is, as I said, is where is the boundary? You know, where do we go to when we decide enough is enough? We see signs of this when we have these conflicts over water and natural gas. Coal is another one, if we've had any interest in the Bulga thing, and the Emu Plains. It's all over the place. In Central America and other parts of Latin America, they've banned metallic mining. The pollution that comes from that is just too much of a problem. The Mekong River, and there's a whole host of problems there. There's conflict and various forms of differences of approach and interest of various groups and nationalities. In Bougainville, the conflict there, if we can remember back, I think it's about 10 years. So, you know, even now they're talking about reopening that mine. Do they or not? The massive pollution has gone down that river. So there's all of these problems. Now, Papua New Guinea, these are just endless. Now, another question too with regard to sustainability and the fact that, you know, these issues are debatable as to where you draw the line is the whole question of youth unemployment, which is growing. Refugees, and getting back to coal seam gas again, where do we draw the line? The Murray-Darling Basin and so on. Also, it moves into finances as well, and the whole debt situation where nations are getting into debt and affects some nations more than others. These communities that are regarded as uneconomic and are being closed, or you know, that has been the intention of various governments to close Aboriginal communities. So what we've got now, I think, is what I call, and I know others call, a form of addiction. It's the link, and it's something that we're not acknowledging. It's the link between economic problems and economic growth. Now, just to illustrate this, the OECD up in China the OECD wanted the G20 finance ministers up in China just recently to spell out the need for more economic growth. And I don't know if you remember Joe Hockey last year wanting more economic growth. As I said, there's a real problem that there's not enough dialogue between economics and ecology, or science and economics. So there is some level of dialogue with ecological economics, but there isn't a recognition of the need for a steady state economy. And I think this is the heart of the debate. A steady state, we can teach that in science. Steady state is very easy to recognise when we have a look at natural ecosystems, and the students do that in years 9 and 10. The carbon dioxide's taken in with the help of energy. Energy's a crucial role. We've got various cycles there which enable the whole process to actually happen, but overall the system stays the same. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about a steady state. So the argument is that the economy needs to work in a similar sort of way. Now, it seems just a matter of pure logic that ultimately we're going to have, or that we will have, a steady state economy. The question is, do we plan for it? We're not planning for it at the moment by any means, or do we allow it, the whole processes that we've got going at the moment, just to keep on going and just see what happens. So, if we're looking at the features of a steady state economy, some of the things, the needs that we recognise now, we're heading in that direction. Solar, totally renewable energy, minimal amount of mining, a steady population. This is a big one, sharing of jobs, part-time work. I think that needs to involve unions and our whole mentality of being fully employed. Recycling, a greater number of people being employed in recycling and repair. These are my neighbours. They didn't see me photographing those. But you see that, I'm sure everybody else sees that everywhere. The production of materials that are either can be broken down within the environment or recycled. So at the moment, and that's an extension of what we call the product responsibility. No further reduction in natural habitats. So we're already seeing down in Tasmania and elsewhere, even in New South Wales, pressure against pressure to reduce parks and so on. Regulation of the finance industry. Now this is a key one, and it's not my field of expertise, but there are certainly people who are thinking about that and what needs to happen there. The other feature of a steady state economy, I think, is planning for local, what they call local resilience, and that is the production of the necessities of life at a local level, food, the production of energy, and enabling education and health. Brings into question the law of comparative advantage in the economics field, of which I'm not an expert, as some might be happy to point out. But there are various movements that are trying to act in this direction, and I've just got them listed there, but I won't do that. One of the things that concerns me is theory land when it comes to all of this. And as part of theory land, we have economic growth is necessary, otherwise the economy will collapse. Now, my understanding of economics is that's true, the present system. So I'm not saying that these things here are not true, but they're part of our theory, and we need to talk about them. Resource use and pollution can be decoupled from economic growth. That is, that we can have just an expansion of economic growth if we have extension of services. Our economic growth provides us with the capacity to look after the environment. We need economic growth to avoid unemployment. Market forces, they can always be relied upon to solve problems. That's our good neoliberalism, Milton Friedman, etc., on this one. Yeah, those who claim that there's a limit to growth are socialists, communists, doomsdayers, pessimists or watermelons. And we're intelligent. We've solved problems like this in the past. Who was that fellow? Malthus? Ehrlich? You're wrong. That's the kind of growth that we need. We need to use a different measure. Economic growth is necessary for developing countries. That's true. Economic growth is a tide that lifts all boats. It boats. Helps everybody. So these are, we can talk about those. So getting back to sustainability in the classroom, the science department can deal with various things there. Food pyramids and so on, energy pyramids, recycling, renewable resources and so on. There are other things that we do in science. Bioaccumulation, in chemistry there's the accumulation of carbon dioxide. I'm not going to knock maths, but I was thinking how can maths help? And I thought, yes, exponential growth raised to some certain power. We can talk about the population growth, energy consumption growth and pollution growth and so on. Now geography, I haven't had a chance to sort of, that obviously is another area in which we can to integrate sustainability and perhaps a steady state economy. What can we do as educators now? Having these things around in our classrooms, I don't know whether or not that's practical, but it would send a message to our students. One of the things that concerns me is that science, values, economics, at the moment, we don't have a consistent, coherent thought like the need for a steady state economy that focuses on a direction, something that's achievable. When you think of, let's have sustainable development, to me, that is an abstract idea. And there are other people who are working towards this whole concept of making the steady state economy a real, sorry, gone the wrong direction, real important. Anyway, I'll just finish with this. I've probably gone by my time, sorry about that. But anyway, maybe we could just forget about it. Might be easier. Maybe we could call that the HMAS Titanic and feel relaxed. Thanks.
Well, thanks very much, Phil.
Sorry.
Phil did say he could go for a few hours, and he's convinced me he could. So.